Okay, welcome everybody. Today we are very happy to have Miranda from Redfern Osteopaths in Keynsham join us. Welcome, Miranda.
Hello.
And for those that don't know, my name's Sandhya and I'm a Pilates and yoga teacher and I specialise in lower backs. And today we've got Miranda who's going to be talking about disc issues, which I know a lot of people have. So welcome, Miranda, and we look forward to hearing about how disc issues happen and what we can do to prevent them.
Brilliant. So first of all, well done for saying disc issues and not slip discs, because that's my pet peeve. They don't slip anywhere, and I'll show you with the anatomy why exactly that. It's a disc issue. But lots of people tell me about their slip discs. They don't go anywhere. So I'll bring in my assistant here. Oh, swinging about the place. So this is the lower part of your spine. And in the spine, we've got hard bony vertebra. And then in between, we've got squidgy discs. And the discs are like a bag of jelly, basically. The hard bony vertebra stack on top of each other, like building blocks.
Yes.
And then the jelly allow compression and they shock absorb. And when you have an issue with them, what we get, and I think you should be able to see here, is that they bulge. So the disc actually bulges out and it presses on the nerve, which is here in yellow. So I've got some great videos of this actually, live action animation videos, which I can post in the comments to this. So squidgy disc bulges and presses on the nerve, and the nerve goes down, well, nerves go everywhere, but the common nerve that is pinched is the sciatic nerve, which comes down through the buttocks and down the back of the thigh, back of the leg, and crosses over the foot into the toe. And that's true sciatica, which is being caused by a disc bulge here. So obviously there's swelling and inflammation that causes irritation as well. When the disc bulges, it also then causes the muscles that are in strips down the back. So the muscles run in strips to tighten. And the reason those muscles tighten is because when you move, it hurts. So the body just says, don't move, it hurts. And so they tighten up. Disc bulges do improve. And what happens is the body naturally reabsorbs that disc material if you do the right things. So it does reabsorb. When people say they slip, it's not that it's slipped out of place. As I said, it's like jelly. So there's a few things about disc bulges. They're really common actually in younger people. And I know everyone thinks, oh, back problems are for the older generation. Disc bulges are when the disc is big and full, and that happens more in younger people. As you get older, the disc kind of dehydrates, it becomes thinner, so it's not going to bulge out and press as much.
Thank you.
So it is. Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah, no, it's really common actually for people like in their 30s, sort of around 35. So yeah, people say, oh, I can't have a bad back, I'm too young. It's a really common time. Yes. And again, that's why people normally with a disc, the classic pattern is first thing in the morning, being really stiff for about an hour and taking a while to get moving and get going in the day. Because the disc is full in the morning, you've slept, you haven't had the weight of your body on the spine, the disc is nice and full, it's really bulged, and that's when it presses on the nerve. After an hour, you've got moving, you've flushed a bit of the fluids out, you've got a bit of the inflammation away, and people go, oh, after about an hour, it starts to ease. And that's why movement's really important. And I know Sandhya is going to take us through movements later, but I just say to people, walk. That is a really important thing, little bits of walking, because it helps flush the fluid in, take away all the inflammation, bring new blood back, and kind of just get that flow going. The worst thing you can do is just sit and just stagnate is the worst thing that you can do. So that's what a disc bulge is. you can have different levels. So in the early stages, it's just the outer part of the disc. So just the outer part can like be a bit grated, and that we call an annular strain. Before it becomes so weak it bulges. So that's what it is. How does it happen? So many people come and say, I only picked up a bit of paper. But what happens is you stand up and people round and they bend forwards and they kind of, I'm going to move this one out of the way. So when people kind of like just bend down to pick up a piece of paper, it's a very light movement, but what you can see happening, I can get this spine off, is as we bend, we roll forwards like that, and so the spine bends. It compresses at the front of the spine, which leaves this disc at the back to pop out and to bulge, and that's what the video will show later. So I'll pop the video up. Pop my spine down a moment. So a lot of times it's people only picking up a really light thing and they just kind of twist, and bend and twist is a really common thing. Dishwashers, and it's a vulnerable position for the spine to be in, is just that bending forwards, rounding back and twisting. So I always tell people, you know, try and keep that straight back, engage your core muscles, so bend your knees, or instead of rounding your back, you do a split stance. So you do one leg in front of the other, which again, I can show you some photos of later, so that you don't have to round your back. You put one foot in front of the other. It's the straw that broke the camel's back, though. It's not normally that one movement. It's actually all the other things you've done over a long time that it feed into this. So it's bad lifting over a long time, lots of heavy lifting, lots of bad manual handling that feed into it. So it might be one simple thing, but actually we've got to go back and look at your whole posture, your core, all of the things. So it's happened. It's already happened. You're in a lot of pain. You might be getting pain down the leg as well. What do you do? So first of all, first aid, you need to put some ice on it. People hate putting ice on, but you really need to put cold on to get that inflammation down, to really cool things down. Vasoconstrictor, you put the ice on and it calms it down. 5 minutes on, 5 minutes off. 5 minutes on, 5 minutes off. Just over like a 20-minute, half an hour period. Walking, little bits of just walking about. So not long hikes, but short little walks, not sitting. When we sit, what we tend to do after a while is slump. And that again is that bad position for the spine where you're slumped forwards. So sitting is okay for short periods, but generally moving about. I tell people, if you're in a lot of pain, lie down, lie on the floor with your knees raised up, and it takes the curve out of your back. So ice, little bits of pottering because it helps all the fluids. It is okay to take anti-inflammatories if you're allowed to. Anti-inflammatories, ibuprofen, in the short term, do help. You can rub on ibuprofen gels, deep freeze gels as well. In the short term, they are great. I know people don't like taking medication for a long time, but just to get you up and moving, they are all right. So, and again, I've got another sheet of the do's and don'ts with discs and what you should do and shouldn't do. So I can post that up as well. If it's happened, the ice and the just resting hasn't helped, and the little bit of walking, that's often when people come to see us. We're very hands-on, so we'll work on those muscles that have got tight, we'll massage the muscles, and we'll stretch the joints out. So, show this disc again. So where that disc is bulging out through there, what we'll try and do is give a little bit of space. So we'll pull the joints apart and we'll gap the joints apart just to take the pressure off that nerve. It's just hiding behind the disc here. So I think you can see that there. So we'll do a lot of work of, really stretching joints out, trying to just give a little bit more space and getting everything moving. And we'll give you homework to do as well. So we'll give some first aid exercises, things like knee hugs, lying on your back, bringing in one knee at a time, up to the chest. The mistake a lot of people make is they bring both knees up and they're rocking about. It's too much. Go first aid, first step, one knee at a time, hold it for 30, 40 seconds. You've got to hold them for a long time. Do the other knee, and then if that's feeling okay, you can later progress to both knees. But in these early stages, you've got to go gentle, feel the difference left to right. So yeah, hands up. We do put manipulations through joints. We do put little clips and pops. We wouldn't do that where there's a disc. So you wouldn't want to over rotate where the disc is. We might do above, somewhere else in the spine, so that it takes the pressure off other areas and allows more movement in other areas, but we wouldn't do it in that joint. So don't be worried that that's what we're going to do, because that actually would cause more issues. So we'd work gently on that area and maybe a bit more on other areas too. The other thing that we do, if anyone watches sport, you see this stuff all the time. Very, very attractive, bright blue tape. The brighter the colour, the better it gets you. This is sticky tape, and we stick it directly on the skin. And it's a bit like having a bandage actually stuck on the skin. And what we tend to do is like an H around the spine, just to provide you with a bit of support, so that when you do go to do certain movements, you don't overdo it. And that just pulls you back and goes, don't forget to use those muscles, and, you know, hold on. The tape stays on for about 5 days. You can shower with it, you can wash in it. It's great stuff. Again, it's first aid. I don't like people living in it, but for an acute injury, it's brilliant to just pop it on there and then take it off after 5 days, and your body should kind of have a bit more awareness of where it should be. Some people who do a lot of heavy lifting find the weightlifting belts helpful, the support belts. Again, great thing if you know you've got to go out and do something, brilliant, but not to live in it. So only short term, rather than being in it all the time. So that's what we tend to do. We give the advice. The other thing that I would say is when you come to see us, we check your reflexes and we check your power. So gentle little tap on the knee, and we're checking all the different muscles to make sure that you are suitable for treatment. There are cases where we would actually send you off for an MRI soon, and we send you back to the GP, or some cases even off to A&E. So the emergency cases and the things that we do ask, it's personal questions, but the things that we would ask is if you've had any change to your bladder or bowel habits. Particularly, we want to know if you're not able to empty your bladder fully, if you're retaining that urine, or if you're having any difficulty or numbness when you wipe yourself, or not able to feel yourself going for a bowel movement. The reason that's really important is if we go back to this disc here. So here we've just got the disc pressing on one nerve, and that's absolutely fine. But if the disc was to be pressing right in the center of the spine, into the spinal canal, and pressing on the nerves that control your bladder or bowel, that is actually a surgical emergency. So it doesn't happen in very many cases, but we do ask the question with everyone, and that's why we ask a lot of medical history, because if you answer yes, then we say, here's a letter, please go off to A&E, please take this with you, and go and get a scan before we know that it's okay to carry on with any treatment. Oh, bless me. So that's what we tend to do, hands-on treatment, giving you the advice, the stick you back together, and giving you some basic exercises like knees up to the chest, gentle little bits of rotation. All the exercises that I tend to give for a first aid basis are lying down, because if you're also trying to stand up, those muscles are holding you up and your weight is on top of that disc and everything's stacked on top of each other. How can you possibly stretch? How can you possibly get those muscles relaxed enough? So for me, in the early days, lay down to do your exercises. If you can lie on the floor, brilliant. If you can't, lying on a bed's just as good, or the sofa. Later on, we progress to some standing exercises, which I'm sure, you know, Sandhya would talk you through, or some more kind of core exercises. But in the early days, lying is the best thing you can do. I know Sandhya's got some great just sitting exercises as well for, can't be bothered to get off the sofa, you can do some exercises straight away, and that's brilliant. But when it's in the acute phase, just lay down, even if lay down on an ice pack, it's the best thing. So is there anything else you want to know? That's what we tend to do. So that's what is a disc, what causes them to happen, the first aid advice of what I'd suggest, what we do treatment wise, and then Sandhya is going to talk you through the longer term, which is core. Everyone hears me bang on about this all the time, but the stronger you get your core muscles, they act like a corset around the body. The stronger those muscles are, you don't round, you don't slump when you're lifting, and just those muscles work when you're not even thinking about it. And I know that's what Sandhya is absolutely fantastic at, is rehabbing the later stage of all those core muscles.
Brilliant. That's been very informative. Thank you so much, Miranda, for your expert advice. And if anybody wanted to check you out, where do they go?
So you can just find us on Facebook at Redfern Osteopaths, or with www.redfernosteopaths.co.uk. Again, I'll post links up with the do's and don'ts and the videos, just showing what happens in a disc, because I find it interesting, but then, you know, I do find it fascinating. But I think other people, it's great to be visual and see what's happening and go, oh, that's why it hurts when I bend forward. Oh, that's why. And if you can see it, so I'll post those videos up for you.
I agree. Thank you. And also, I just wanted to say about ice. I've had many back problems, been in 3 car accidents, unfortunately, and I always put hot water bottle on because I couldn't bear to put ice on. And then one day it was so bad, I put ice on, and I've never looked back because it's so relieving and so fantastic. So I'm always up for ice. We say people, ice is the thing.
Brilliant.
It's really bad.
Heat has got its place with more arthritic things, and with more arthritic knees and hips and other joints. Heat has got its place, but not in the acute injury. So in the acute, ow, that really hurts, then yeah, ice is the way to go. For people that really hate it, what I do say is you can alternate. You can do 5 minutes cold, 5 minutes hot, 5 minutes cold. The idea is it opens the blood vessels, closes the blood vessels, opens it, and it's a pump getting new blood in, old blood out all the time. So for people that hate ice and just won't do it, to trying to get them on board, you can do hot, cold, hot, cold. But yeah, heat's got its place for other things, definitely. But for the acute, I cannot move. And I always say to you, what would you do if you've got a small child and they've hit their head on something? You'd never go and get a hot water bottle on it. But when we get older, we think, oh no, that would be much nicer, a hot water bottle.
Yes, very true.
I'm glad you're a convert to the ice anyway.
I got actually that you can get ice pack, but you can heat it too. Actually, I've never heated it, but I've got that one in the freezer just for if I ever need it.
Yeah, and I say to people, just get a bag of medical peas, the cheapest ones that the supermarket do, write medical peas on them, and it doesn't matter that they defrost, refreeze, defrost, you don't eat them, it's fine. But yeah, the ones that mould and shape to you are brilliant as well. And
portable, which is good.
Yes, oh absolutely. Not that we're allowed to go anywhere at the moment. So it doesn't matter.
Miranda, that was brilliant. Thank you so much. So I'm going to show some exercises just to start off with, just on a chair, just for those that are feeling really lethargic and just can't be bothered to move at the moment. Perhaps you've had back issues for a little while and you just want to get moving. We'll start there, and then we'll move to the floor and then do some exercises, which are very gentle, that I give often to help to strengthen that core, to get yourself strong again after you've had perhaps some period of inactivity. Perhaps you've just had a baby in the later phase, maybe 2 years later, and you're thinking, what am I going to do now? Realizing your core's a little bit weak. So these are exercises for you. So I hope you enjoy.
Brilliant. Well, I'm gonna look forward to joining in. But I would also say, just to let everyone know as well, that it's not a quick fix when you're trying to do your core. And you've got to work on it, and especially discs. it's normally 6 to 8 weeks at the beginning stage of being in pain and discomfort, up to 12 weeks of that pain then, you know, beginning to subside. And then core, you've just got to work on. So it is a commitment, I think, to rehabbing discs. And people always say, oh, can't you just click it back in? Well, no, because it's jelly. It's like trying to put jelly through a sieve. So the core stuff with you've had some fantastic results, which is great. It means my patients don't come back and see me because they've seen you and they're loads better and they don't keep having the injury, which is brilliant. But I know that you've got to keep working on it. Yeah. It's not overnight. And you also said a great thing about after people have had babies, even if it's 2 years afterwards, it's never too late. So people that have had another thing, but a separation through the abdominal muscles after pregnancy, it's never too late. You can work on it, you can fix it with the right exercises, but you've got to commit to it. So yeah, anyone that's sat there thinking, oh, I've had it such a long time, that's fine, but you've got to put the work in. Yes. I put a post up the other day saying rehab is like a relationship. If you cheat on it, it won't work. So you've got to do the work.
That's a good one.
Yeah, but you do, and so you've had fantastic results, which is great. But I know that people, you know, keep up with them. So I look forward to seeing what the exercise is after I send them off to you. What happens?
Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you, Miranda. I'll see you again.
And you, brilliant. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so I'm going to give you some chair exercises. So if you're sitting on the sofa now watching this and thinking, I can't really be bothered, I just want you to sit up and sit on the edge of your chair with your feet firmly planted on the floor. So we want the spine to be nice and long here, not rounded. And if your sofa's too soft, then make your way onto a chair. So my back is nice and straight, my feet are firmly planted on the floor. And just begin to lift the shoulders and roll them back and down. Lift the shoulders and roll them back and down. And then taking the hands behind you, if you can, interlace the fingers and open up through the back. So reaching the arms behind and then releasing. And then taking the right hand to the outside of the left leg, left hand slightly behind you, and very gently just twisting to the side. So what we're trying to do is just working our spine in those different motions, those different directions. Breathing in and breathing out, and breathing in and breathing out, and releasing and switching sides. Left hand to the outside of the right knee, right hand behind you. Lift and lengthen through the spine, follow with the gaze, stomach slightly drawn in, protecting through your back. Never over twisting. If you need to release out at any time, do. Otherwise, stay there. Deep breath in and deep breath out, and releasing. And just draw the stomach in, rounding through the back ever so slightly, and then lifting the shoulders, maybe lifting the gaze slightly, arching through the lower back. Rounding through the back ever so slightly, and then lifting, opening up through the chest and releasing. So we've begun to move our body a little bit. Maybe we think we can move a little bit more. So reach one arm up and release back down, and the other arm up and release back down. Then taking your weight into the left foot, see if you can lift the right foot off and releasing, weight into the right foot, left foot off and releasing. So from side to side, we're trying to keep this area nice and stable here. Stomach's ever so slightly drawn in, lifting one foot then the other. Now if that's too much, you could come up onto the tip of the toe and lower, tip of the toe and lower, and you come back a bit, you can see me. Tip of the toe, that might be enough. And if you feel strong enough, maybe reaching the right arm up onto the tip of the toe of the left and releasing, the left arm up, tip of the toe of the right and releasing. That might be plenty for you, maybe just doing tip of the toe without the arms. If you want to develop it a little bit more further, you can reach one arm up and the other knee lifts. So this is not really to be done in your acute phase. This be done once everything's settled down, to work to strengthen through your muscles. And last one, and releasing. So I hope you've enjoyed those chair exercises. We're going to come down to the mat now. And onto the back of the body with your feet hip distance apart. So coming down onto the side of the body and gently making your way down with your feet hip distance apart, and soles of the feet are on the floor. From this position, press down into the hands and draw the stomach in as you begin to tilt through the pelvis, squeeze the buttocks, and ever so slightly lift off your tailbone off the floor, and then release back down. So stomach's drawn in, tailbone lifts off the mat, off the floor, and releasing back down. So this is pelvic tilt, so it helps mobilize through the pelvis area. Tilting and releasing. So then we're going to come into drawing the one knee in toward the chest and the other foot stays there. And if it feels okay, you can extend the left leg long, flexing through the foot. So Miranda talked about this to be doing in to help ease off the back, so not both knees together. You've just had a disc issue, just one knee at a time, beginning to work through the back. And then I would start with both knees on both feet on the floor, left knee toward the chest, stay as you are. If it feels okay, extend out through the right leg. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Draw the right leg in and lower the left leg down. So one of my favourite exercises to give, and very gentle, is toe taps. So again, your feet hip distance apart, and you take the weight into the left leg and begin to lift the right foot off the floor. Extend the leg slightly away so the knee is above the hip and the shin is in alignment with the ceiling. Then from this position, begin to drop the toe down toward the floor, but still try to keep that 90-degree bend of the knee, and then rise back up. See if halfway feels okay. If it feels okay, you can drop the toe all the way down to the floor. Now you know if it's too much for you because the back begins to arch, so we don't want to do that. So if for you, just extending the toe away a little bit and the knees extending away, and you feel that engagement there is enough for you, then bring back. Otherwise, you can lower fully down, tap the toe down, and rise back up. Tap the toe down, and rise back up. So we're working our core muscles here. So this area we're working to strengthen, to help support the back, to help reduce the risk of disc issues. And last one. And releasing. Bring the right knee in toward the chest. Left leg stays out, or extend the left leg long. Whichever feels most comfortable for you. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Particularly if you're tight through your hip flexor, this part here, you might feel a nice stretch through the front of the leg as well. Draw the left leg in and then release the right leg down. Left knee in toward the chest, so lifting the left foot off the floor slowly, and then begin to extend the knee away. So this might be just enough for you, and you're hardly moving, it seems, and then you bring the leg back. That might be plenty for you. It depends on how much, how weak really those muscles are. So that might be enough, or you're tapping down halfway, so just halfway coming down, rising back up, or all the way to the floor, tapping down with your toe pointed. Unless you get cramped, just leave the foot relaxed. So tapping down nice and slowly, and rising back up. Let's see if we can take two more. Two. And last one. So you know if you're doing too much, if that back's overarching, if you becomes a gap there wasn't before. And bringing the left knee in toward the chest, taking hold of the shin or the back of the leg, keeping the right leg there, or extending the right leg long as that feels okay for you, flexing through the extended leg, and taking a deep breath in and a deep breath out. So we're trying to breathe deeply as well to get the oxygen moving around the body. Any tight areas, if you think of the breath being directed to that tight area, breathing in And breathing out. And breathing in. And breathing out. Draw the right knee in and release the left foot down. And then rolling onto the side of the body and coming up onto all fours. So this is one of my favourite ones I always give out, knee lift exercise to help to strengthen the core. So lots of times you might look on Google and look for videos to strengthen the core, and they'll give you plank exercises, which I don't recommend if you haven't done anything. So here's a plank, and what often people do, because they're not strong enough, lower down here through the back, and then there's all the strain there in the back. So we don't want that. So knee lifts, most people can usually do. So taking the hands directly underneath the shoulders and the knees directly underneath the hips. Now, if your wrists ache at all, you can always make fists. You can come down on your forearms if you need to, but the alignment's better here, so if you can, fists or hands. Then from this position, tuck the toes, taking the weight into the hand and making sure the crown of the head is an extension of the spine rather than the chin dropped or lifted at all. So you've got that lovely alignment there. And then tuck your toes and lift your knees off the floor, nice and close to the floor. And then when you've had enough, just releasing your knees back down. So you know if you've had enough because you begin to shake. And that's those muscles just working. But we don't want to hold too much when we begin to shake, because then often other muscles start to work. So as well, when we press down through the hands, try to press down through all four corner points of the hands rather than just in the wrist. When you've had enough, you're just lowering down. Now, if you begin to feel a little bit stronger, you've done those for quite a while, you might be able to bring your hands a little bit more forward or your knees a little bit more back. And then you're just working from a little bit longer between your hands and the knees, which makes those muscles work harder. Just lifting and lowering at your own pace. You might be surprised how that feels and how tough that is if you haven't done a lot of exercise or a lot of movement, but this is very effective. So I hope you enjoy it. And then taking the buttocks down toward the heels and allowing the forehead to drop toward the floor. Now, if your forehead doesn't drop toward the floor, cross over the arm. Some people, the bum doesn't reach the heels, so just keep the bum high and drop the forehead down. You're just having a little relax and surrender here, connecting with the breath. Taking a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And deep breath in and a deep breath out. And deep breath in and away. And then rising back up onto all fours. Coming into leg lift. So taking the weight back into the hands, into the right knee, left leg extending behind you. Dropping the head down so the chin is a nice gap away from the neck, the crown of the head, an extension of the spine. Getting your balance, maybe tuck the toes of the right foot if you need to. Tip of the toe of the left foot, and then from there, extending the left leg away from you. So trying to not lift too much for the back leg, so then you arch through the back. We're trying to have the heel, the bum, the shoulders roughly in the same position, same height, and releasing back down. And then switching sides, weight into the left leg, right leg extending behind, stomach drawn in, press down through the hands, spread the hands wide, and slowly lifting the leg and lowering back down. So coming from side to side, and what we're trying to do is keep our back nice and straight. So if you've got something light you could put near you, maybe a small book, you can see whether you keep that book on the back without the book falling. Because sometimes what happens is people take the weight really over to the right and then lift the leg up. And then if you've got something on your lower back, you know if it falls off, if you've rounded through the back too much or taken the weight over too much. So weight into the left leg, getting your balance, lifting up. Now you don't have to lift the leg as high as buttocks shoulder height, it might be halfway, and releasing back down. So often in Pilates we talk about really this book like a glass of water on our lower back, and we're trying not to spill that. The left leg extends, lift, and lower. So we're working our core muscles. So as we're lifting the leg, we're working those core muscles to lift up, to balance on our 3 points. Now our hands in our foot, hands in our knee, and releasing. And last one. So always stopping, resting whenever you need to. And last one. And releasing, sinking down into a child's pose. So buttocks toward the heels, maybe cross over the arms if you need to, or extending out through the arms. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Deep breath in and a deep breath out. And slowly rising up to a seated position and giving yourself a pat on the back. So thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed. If you've got any questions for Miranda or myself, please do not hesitate to ask. You can find me on Facebook or YouTube, so do check them out. I will put the links below. My name's Sandhya, and I hope you have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you again. Take care. Bye-bye.